This is the Mongolian Mindset, and today me and Christian are going to be breaking down the first part of John Beebe's 8-function model. If we get enough likes and comments, we'll break down the unconscious 5 through 8. Those are a lot more abstract and will require a lot more. So, Christian, you got anything you want to say, man?
Yeah, yeah. Make sure that you pay attention to this video and you watch it all the way through because if we do get enough likes and we go to the next one, you're definitely gonna need this base to understand the next ones because they're very, very abstract. And so yeah, pay attention the whole way through.
All right, man. So, guys, we're gonna start this, man. So we have the John Beebe 8-function model. Okay, it's very abstract. It's all about archetypes. Each function has an archetype that it expresses. Some of them are, positive. Some are negative. And we'll be getting into the first four on this episode here. And let's get into it. So I'll go ahead and go with, I'll let Christian go with this, the hero function.
All right, so first we're gonna start with the hero function is the dominant function. The first one is the source of your main strength, courage, and pride. It has seemingly effortless energy. Person who experience people experience this function as all powerful and without flaws. So you yourself will think that this function doesn't have flaws, but it definitely does. So you can definitely trust it when you should not, and it always wants admiration. Okay. It leads to self-centered behavior and projects its superiority over others. The problems occur when you freely use it without thought of or conscious. The goal is to recognize how limited it is and question its work. And once you develop it, you can allow others to use it, even if they do so poorly without, jumping on them. Yeah.
So when I think about the hero function, I think about this thing right here. You've been using this thing all your life. You've got the power stored up. You believe the universe should revolve around this function, right? When a person talk to you and they ain't lining up with this function, you be like, I don't know about this person. You know what I'm saying? To you, this is all powerful. This is why I always say this is like the God, right? And we just serve this function, all of us. Like it is what it is. Like this comes first. It's
Mhm.
it's our first line of anything. Okay. The thing about it is it tries to be in every office and sign off on everything. And sometimes it doesn't need to be in the office and it doesn't need to be signing off on anything. Okay. It needs to let other people do some work. Okay. This
Mhm.
guy, he ain't never seen an off day. Okay.
Yeah.
So
This, this is like, when you start playing a video game and you have an effective move that works and you start spamming it, this is that. Like you basically, when you run into trouble, this is like your go-to, your staple. This is like the best card in your hand, the most powerful card in your hand.
it's like you
And
playing
you just,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
yeah, you just want to play it, constantly. And
You get that card, you smiling. You smiling when you pull that card. You like, oh, this game over. Okay, this
right.
game
But
is over.
just like in a video game or even in a card game, you learn over time when you get better not to rely on those cards all the time because sometimes there are situations when you don't want to play that card or you want to hold it for later or even in a video game you don't want to show it off too much because the opponent might get used to. Same thing with the hero function. It's like once you get better and more experience, you'll learn to kind of check it
Mhm.
sometimes. You know what
So
I mean?
this is what I see it as, and this is a great analogy here. It's kind of like if you play Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon, and you build your entire deck around one card. That's
Mhm.
what the hero function is. You have built your entire deck around this one card, right? And that shit can work. It can work and win you a lot of games. But later on, when you climb that competitive ladder,
Mhm.
you got to bring your whole deck around, okay? And
Yeah.
then over time, maybe this guy doesn't get as much shine. But back in the day, your whole deck was structured around this guy. So for
Yeah.
Christian, that's Ti. His whole deck was structured around Ti. But now he's older. He's brought up that Fe and the Se and his Ni, and he's got a
Mhm.
strong deck overall, and that's what you want to do.
That's right. A good story to kind of back up what we're saying is back in the day when I played that legendary game of Pokemon against Mercer. And back then I was young. The TI was in full effect. It was all that I was relying on. You know what I mean? So I thought, because I logically put this team together, I should be able to win. And it won me a lot of games against good people. But then Mercer went to the collective, the forums, found a competitive team that was established, you know, and built his team around that. And I got washed. Okay.
He
And
didn't
then
kill one
ever since
Pokemon,
then,
guys. This story is he didn't kill one of my Pokemon. Not one. It was
yeah,
so bad.
yeah. So ever since then, I learned, hey, even though I have my own framework and it's very strong, there's also the meta or collective framework that I need to check as well.
So when you're saying that right now, you're kind of getting into the unconscious functions there and learning to humble with the opposing personality. So he's dabbling into that, but we're not giving y'all that today. Okay, we're giving
Yeah.
y'all the first four.
Okay.
Okay, so now the next one is the parent function. Okay, this is the second one. It's called the auxiliary. Okay, this one's going to come out and the guys nurture, cares for, or contributes. Okay, we experience this from a place of idealism, service to others, and cannot be overused or used negatively. So how I see this is like this function comes out and it literally wants to help people, but the thing is it will try to help people when it shouldn't try to help people, right? All the time, right? It always plays the role of I know best, you know,
Mhm.
instead of letting people grow or something like that. Use of this function can demonstrate wisdom, kindness, and willing to sacrifice, neglects another person's needs for independence and space. See, that's the problem right there. It can neglect another person's need for independence and space, feeling that it's always got to do this for this person. And it's like, yo,
Mhm.
back the fuck off. All right. Let me do this myself. Trouble occurs because it can become overly protective, too direct, or condescending to others. Has trouble recognizing when it doesn't need to help. See, like it's the parent and it wants to parent outly into other people. Um, so like it
Mhm.
can be condescending as well because it feels as though it can parent you. Okay. Development leads to guiding others without reciprocity. Whatever the fuck it is.
Reciprocity. Mhm.
Recognizing when not to parent others and learning when its wisdom isn't needed. Okay, so sometimes you gotta be put that hero away. Some people be kind of upset, like they're like, "Damn, man, I always feel like you trying to tell ruin my future, or you trying to tell me the best future, or you trying to tell me my future." They can be very upset with that.
Mhm.
So sometimes you gotta, whatever your function is, you gotta dial it back sometimes and let other people do it. Use it when you need to. If people are struggling, you help them, but you don't always need to be in this role here.
Yeah, as you can tell, these functions they're very powerful. That's why we're touching on them first. But they could be kind of like a double-edged sword. It's like as you get older and develop, you kind of learn how to, hold these back a little bit and become more of a sniper instead of just shooting a bazooka. You know what I mean? That's why I like to kind of use it as an analogy. It's like at first you kind of like just spraying all over the place, and it has its positives and its negatives. But as you get more developed, then you can pinpoint and just aim these functions at where you want to go.
Mhm.
And it's a lot more effective.
And a lot of times is what really helps is awareness, because once you are aware of something, then you can be like, oh, like I need to pull back on that. Like I don't need to be parenting this guy's future. That's uncool. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't want me to do that, and he doesn't care for me to do that, and he's not gonna listen to me. So why am I spending the energy doing that? So it's just
Mhm.
like noticing things like that, or like noticing when you gotta let the training wheels off with somebody.
Yeah. Also, a lot of times if you try to do this and it ends up failing because either they don't listen or for whatever reason they don't agree with your assessment, it could come with some disappointment or wasted energy. So as you develop this function, it'll save you a lot of energy and time. You'll use it when appropriate, and it'll be, you'll have a higher percentage rate of being effective with it. you know.
Yeah.
So,
And like generally speaking, you want to develop this function as well, because it's going to lead to maturity in yourself. Okay. We'll be touching on the next function, and that can make you look very childish. And a lot of times, if you can notice that a person's very childish in their demeanor or whatnot, you could tell that they're looping between the first and the third function, and they need to actually grow their parent function to become a lot more mature version of their personality type.
hmm.
I'll let Chris go and take that.
All right. So the third, tertiary, the eternal child. Okay. It craves attention and validation. It goes between excitement and disappointment, highs and lows. It is unreliable and innocent. It can throw tantrums, ignores boundaries, or naively defends them. This function may refuse to grow up, become responsible for itself due to a tendency to worship the hero. So, like Mercer said, it loops between hero and child, right?
Mm-hmm.
We experience this function as more capable than it is, and it is a source of fun creativity, but it's fragile. Okay. We tend to promise more than we can deliver when we rely on this function, and it gets exploited by use and becomes burned out. Okay. It becomes sad when it is not accepted or appreciated. This function can stop you from developing the parent function, like Mercer mentioned. Uh, Not understand when we need help, overly rely on people with this in the parent spot, or idealize those with it in the hero function. So we start admiring people who have this function at the higher spot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. His development comes with accepting when to let the child play, watching it for any warning signs. Understand this function prevents you from maturing. Okay. So basically, what I kind of got from this is kind of like you need to allow space for this function, because the thing is this function can provide a lot of chaos in your life if you just let it run free, but you also don't want to just cage it up, because I think, like I mentioned in the last video, if you guys watched that one,
We did break down
if you
a child function video. Yeah, we do have one on the channel. So,
yeah, if you cage this function up, then it'll lash out in wild ways when you least expect it, and you don't want that, because when it lashes out, it comes out very strongly. So you kind of want to allow a space for this. Mercer calls it the weekend function. You
mm,
know, like you just allow it space, here and there, so that you could get the fun creativity aspect of it, all the positive aspects of it, without necessarily letting it run free and kind of
mhm.
uh bring all this chaos to your life, you know.
Yeah, because
So,
with this child function, you're gonna be experiencing highs and lows, right? No real consistency. So like you really don't want to get stuck here. So you gotta, but the thing, like Christian said, if you repress it, then it comes back and it swings even harder. Okay. So you gotta figure out times to use it, when not to use it. Notice when it's getting fatigued. Okay, you can get fatigued from this. You can come off overly childish with this function as well. Overly optimistic. It's gonna take on more of like the hero type attitude, but it's not the hero. Okay,
yeah.
so watch out for
Another
that.
another thing, another thing to kind of be wary of is the aspect of idealizing or looking up to people who have this function in the hero spot,
Okay.
because a lot of times they might not have the best intentions for you, but because they have the your child function in their hero spot, you inevitably kind of put yourself in a subservient position compared to them, or you might trust them too much when you really shouldn't, you know.
Mhm. So, be aware of that, and we'll go into the inferior. Okay, so the anima of the animus, like we have a picture here. It's kind of like a you are conscious of all of these functions, right? But this one is the one that you are conscious that you fucking suck at. Okay, you're like, please God, don't throw me in this moment. That's what you think of. Please God, don't you do this to me. If you do anything, you put me in this moment here, because this is a source of shame, anxiety, and like depression. It can either trigger a breakdown or a breakthrough. Like if you fucking get put in this position and you own that situation, that's a breakthrough for you, and that's going to mean a lot more for you than if you were put in a situation and you use your hero, because you expect your hero to perform. Okay, but you put this little sorry motherfucker in the cage and he didn't beat somebody. You was like, oh shit, he won. So like that, you're gonna be excited about that. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I couldn't believe the underdog to pull something. You like ran the sorriest motherfucker on our team that did something. You're gonna be like, oh my God. Like, you pass this person the ball and you know he gonna miss it. You know he just so sorry. All right. And then he
Yeah.
hit the game-winning shot. Like that's gonna trigger a response in you. And it's kind of like that type of thing. Um, and this acts as a bridge to the unconscious, like we said, like getting in situations where it can either go good for you or it could go bad for you. If it goes bad for you in the unconscious, you may go. Okay. You may be dwelling on that. You may feel depressed, like we said earlier, because you've screwed up your inferior function. Can provide integrity and passion. Like if because of that breakthrough and that huge relief from it, from that underdog hitting that shot, it can build like a integrity and passion in what you want to do.
Mm.
Um, and this is where inferiority complex comes for, or idealization complex. People experience this as out of control, inept, or embarrassing, infuriating, and alluring. So when you think about that, it's basically what we hammered on earlier. Um, you just generally when you're put in this situation, there's a little thought process to go in your brain that says, "Oh shit,
Yeah.
oh
So
shit."
it's like a sore spot in your personality.
Yeah.
It's because to differentiate it from the child function, you kind of think that you're like effective
Mm-hmm.
at that function, so it doesn't really provide you a sense of inferiority. Whereas this, you're kind of conscious that it is not your strength. So now it's like whenever you're put in certain positions, you kind of feel like nervous about them. You kind of know that you're in your weakness while doing them, you know?
Like we said earlier, you go back to that analogy, right? The child function, bro, he be winning, right? Y'all get him, like let's say you got a 4-man team, right? You got the hero, you got the parent, you got the child, and you got the inferior, right? Hero
Mhm.
always win. That's an automatic W. He steps in the ring, he's winning, right? Parent, that's almost like 80% of the time they're winning, right? Child, you down to 50-50. Inferior, he giving you an L, right? So when you see him perform, it's a good feeling, man. It is an amazing feeling. And that's kind of learned. Like everybody wants to cheer on the underdog or the shitty motherfucker. Okay. Um, using this can
Now,
make you feel burnt
yeah.
out or fatigued. Okay, so like when you are using this function, you can become very tired. You can become addicted to the activities or individuals associated with this function. It's kind of like what we said. Like if this thing starts making like leaps and grounds or bounds or whatever, it's a way better feeling than when you watch fucking Ti Hero beat the person and he beat the last person, the next person. It's just expected. Okay.
Mhm.
He get thrown on his back. We're gonna be, hey, you in a bad place. All right. Your hero lose, you in a bad place. I'm just gonna tell you that. Um, begin to recognize and explore the unconscious. Okay. This is gonna help you recognize and explore the unconscious. Okay. Either a good way or bad way. Can cause envy or idealization of people who outperform in this area. So basically, if you see somebody who's actually good in this and they're doing well, you might be kind of a little pissed off. You might be envious of this person. Okay, fuck them. You might
Mhm.
say fuck that motherfucker, or well, I don't care about that or that. You don't need to do that. Look for others
and
to carry this
and you
function.
can hold on. The reason it says you can become mesmerized by it is because you're so conscious that you're kind of bad at this thing. It's almost like you're amazed by people that are good at it. It's almost like you're seeing another type of human. You know what I mean? Like imagine like you've been trying to do this your whole life, you can't do it, and then this one person does it effortlessly. You're like, how? You know, you're kind of like mesmerized by that.
Because you're aware of it, like I said, it's a short sore spot. Like when a situation comes on for this, it's like, oh no, 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 we can't be put here. Not this. No, 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 no. Okay, so
Mhm.
and you can let me see where we're at. So look for others to carry this function. So a lot of people can put this function on to other people to do or rely
Mhm.
on other people to make you feel comfortable using yours. Okay, so you'll see people tag along with somebody who maybe had this in the parent or hero and require them to do most of the work. Okay,
Mhm.
so they can opt out of using it. Become mesmerized by it and overestimate owns expertise with it. So if this guy starts making some wins, you can start feeling full of yourself here. Okay. But at the end of the day, this is your inferior. This is gonna be your toughest battle. You are aware of it. The steps in the ring, bro. It is what it is. But the ultimate goal is to kind of, bring this up as much as you can. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Development leads. Okay.
if you're able to bring your inferior function up, it'll set you apart like massively. You know what I
Massive.
mean? Like this is a guy who has their inferior developed is like what we call in the elite tier of
Hmm.
that personality type. You know what I
So it's,
mean?
prodigy level. You step into that prodigy level. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that comes from work, because unfortunately it doesn't matter who you are. That inferior function will take a lot of L's, and you got to be willing to take those L's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Development leads to accepting the function's overall weaknings, being able to maintain engagement with it. So like it requires a lot of energy here. So you want to be able, kind of like when Goku was working on being Super Saiyan, just naturally, that should be your overall goal, to be able to use this function without as much energy loss. But it's always gonna
Mm-hmm.
be hard, and it's always gonna be weak, and you're always gonna be aware of it. You're always gonna have this source of inferiority when it comes to this. But you can work on it, man, and build some wins, and you might feel full of yourself, but you gotta watch it. Identifying animosity and infatuation problems. Okay.
Also, I want to add the where it says begin to recognize and explore the unconscious. This is an easy way to start exploring the unconscious because the unconscious shows up more often with this lower function. That's
Mhm.
another thing that people kind of miss. It's like, yes, this is weak, but it's also it's like a window into your unconscious in a way because your unconscious will show up more in times of weakness. And because this is your weakest one, then it'll show up more often with this one. So it's a development opportunity, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, to bust out those other guys. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but you got to make sure you don't get in that depression with it, and just understand that, like, you're gonna lose a lot. Like, that's the most thing I can say is, like, you're going to lose a lot with this. It's like I said, this is the guy who loses on your team. You expect him to lose. He's sorry as fuck. You're upset that he's up. Like, it is what it is. The battle's on him to win it all. You probably ain't expecting good. You're not in a good spot for yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
we also have our references here. John Beebe, Energies and Patterns and Psychological Type. And we also have Carol Shoemate's book, Projections and Personality. She got John Beebe to go over that book and check off on everything from that. I personally like that book a lot better. It's more TE centric versus John Beebe. He's more NE and TI, which is, to me, we can make that a little bit more effective and easier and more digestible. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
that, and yeah, Christian, you got anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, make sure you watch this video at least twice over, so you could get the basics of each function before we move on to the next level. Because the next level is not gonna be so basic. It's more abstract, it's harder to understand, and it kind of requires this base of knowledge for you to kind of follow along.
Mhm.
So yeah, make sure you like the video. If you like the video enough, then we'll provide the next video.
Yeah, and you got to remember, like, these functions, you're gonna be working on these most of your what, midlife, Christian? Midlife? Okay.
Yeah. So basically, throughout your life, you're going to develop these at different rates. And obviously, the hero function develops the fastest. And, as you go along the stack, they just develop slower and they require more work.
Hmm.
So by your midlife, you should be already starting to develop the lower ones, the lower two, right?
Hmm.
So along your journey, you'll develop them even higher. So don't feel like you need to develop these right away. Over time, you'll get better, especially if you put in the extra work. So
Yeah, yeah. You gotta put in the work and understand that, yeah, man, it's okay to suck. Like, I don't care what no one says, it's okay to suck, but it's not okay to stay there.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And be okay with taking the punches. Like,
Mm-hmm.
You're going to suck. I've sucked. Christians suck. It is what it is. But if you keep running, you'll be running for the rest of your life.
Yeah, what you don't want is for you to be the same person 20, 30 years later. That's what you don't want.
Still, like,
Like,
and the thing about the demons is they don't run away if you keep running. They keep running behind you. Okay.
mm-hmm,
So if you
mm-hmm,
stand and you face them, you never have to face them again. It
mm-hmm.
goes away. And that's ultimate freedom. Okay, and enlightenment.
That's
Um,
right. That's right.
so guys, this was an absolute pleasure. But we'll catch you guys on the next one, man.
Mm-hmm.